Welcome to the Million Pound Mission Podcast. I'm your host, Adam Shively, the PhD, the previously heavy dude, and I'm on a 1 million pound mission. I've personally lost over 100 pounds. I've helped my hometown lose over 35,000 pounds, and now I'm on a mission to produce over 1 million pounds of results by helping you gain clarity about what you need to do to reach your goals and give you the confidence to take action. And my friends, the perfect time to start taking action is now. Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of the Million Pound Mission Podcast. It's your buddy Adam, the PhD, the previously heavy dude, and this is episode number 220. We're getting plant-powered and down 200 pounds with my friend Josh LaJaunie. Before we get into Josh's amazing story, I want to introduce you guys to one of you guys. I've got a cool little listener testimonial that I want to feature here with our featured Million Pound Mission Listener of the Week. Check it out.
Hi, guys. This is Carolina from Sweden. I found Adam's podcast while I was having a concussion, laying in bed. And he's absolutely helped me regain positivity in my life. I have a dream job, and I think his podcast has actually helped me not totally in only health perspective wise, but in lifestyle. He has I think his coaching methods you can apply to basically every aspect of your life. And I really think he's a great guy. So yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Carolina from Sweden. She taught me how to say her name. I probably still messed it up a little bit, but I'm getting better. I appreciate all of you guys for listening in. And if you guys would love to do a free chat with me, that's where I met Carolina. And we did a free 15-minute coaching session. And I was thrilled to connect with somebody like that. So I know so many of you. Here's a challenge. If you have listened to every episode of the podcast, I want to talk to you. Let's do a free 15-minute coaching session. I love connecting with people that are the binge listeners that go back to episode 1 and just crank them all out. Or if you haven't quite gotten there yet, I'd still love to connect with you. Just go to millionpoundmission.com. The free coaching call calendar link is on the homepage there. There's only a couple of options, so it's fairly easy to find. millionpoundmission.com, and let's connect. Now, let's get fired up for episode 220, because we're talking to a guy that's actually down 220 pounds. That's just fate that he gets episode 220. My main man, Josh LaJaunie. Now, I always love it when I get a chance to speak to somebody that is totally on fire. And this week, guys, I'm going to introduce you to Josh LaJaunie, who is absolutely crushing it with his transformation journey. This dude, when I was talking to him, I swear to you, his eyeballs were on fire. This dude is so passionate, so energetic, and you can tell that he's just got that purpose in his soul behind his journey. He's got a great big why, and he's out there just absolutely blowing it up. Now, can you guys imagine how you would feel if you stepped on a scale and it just said error, E-R-R-O-R, error? And for those, I know some of you had that experience before. That means that the scale doesn't read that high. All right. So that is exactly what happened to Josh. And that was the moment that he decided to change his life. Now he is plant powered. He's down over 200 pounds, and he is slightly, maybe more than slightly addicted to doing marathons, endurance races. The dude's a beast. He's out there. He's on TV. He's absolutely crushing it, like I said. So in this episode, we talk about what went through his mind when he stepped on the scale and it said air. And we talk about the difference between his game plan that he used to lose the first 100 pounds in his 200-pound journey compared to the second half of his 200-pound journey. He changed some things up there that I thought were interesting. We talked about why he decided that going vegan was the right choice for him and what inspired him to do that. And then we also talk about what keeps him motivated so that he will never gain his weight back. I know that's an issue that a lot of you have, that fear lingering of it's part of what keeps you going is you don't want to gain it back. So we talk about that mindset a little bit. You're going to love this episode. I want to make sure that you get connected to Josh and his stuff. I think that you're going to fall in love with this guy. So without any further delay, let's dive into episode number 220, Plant Powered and Down 200 pounds with Josh LaJaunie. All right, Josh, welcome to the Million Pound Mission Podcast. How are you doing today, my friend?
Doing great, bro.
Well, I'm fired up. I heard about your story from our mutual friend, Brian Falchuk, and I was just psyched to get connected with you because I always love talking to other PhDs out there, and you've got an amazing story. And I kind of wanted to just kick it off with you telling me the story about the time that you stepped on the scale and it just said error. Let's start there.
Yeah, well, at that point, I had already lost some weight. I was already well into like doing the thing. And so it was kind of disappointing because I had, I'm like, I could see it in my face. I'm losing weight. And my wife noticed. And I got on the scale and it still said error. And so it was like mixed emotions. It was like, I know I'm going in the right direction. The whole reason I had built up the courage to step on the scale is because I was feeling lighter, and the fact that it said error anyway was like, damn. But what it drove my wife to, who's a lot more pragmatic and less likely to fall into emotional hurricanes like I do, she's like, oh, we need a bigger scale. Because she understood the importance of that data. Let's find the place and go from there. Yep. And that was a huge move. That was huge for me.
Yeah. So obviously you said that was a major mental roadblock. That could have been a lot of people would just quit, and been like, I'm depressed about this. I've been trying already.
You can very easily get caught focusing on the wrong stuff, because I was at one point I had lost 100 pounds and I looked at my BMI chart and I'm still morbidly obese. It's like, damn, I lost 100 pounds. Let me see where I'm at on that BMI chart now. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, let's rewind it a little bit. So once you found a scale that had a larger capacity, you're able to weigh yourself. And you got that starting point, and you started to get some traction and move forward. So let's talk about that first 100 pounds. Like, what was the mindset? What was your official starting weight, and what was your mindset and game plan around that first 100 pounds?
Right. Once I did get a scale big enough, the biggest number I saw was 397 on the scale. But I had been doing this for a month, going, before we got the scale. Yeah. And then, I know that I was up over 415, 420. I know I was. Yep. Just based on how I lost weight after that, right? But that first 100 pounds was simple because at the time I was going to school. So I was as a non-traditional student plus work. So it was a lot of movement in my day as a default. So, and I was walking, I had classes across campus from each other. And when you weigh, in the 390s, bro, it don't take a long time to burn calories.
Yeah, you're sweating.
Correct. So I had that part. I was doing that. And then when I was going to the gym early in the mornings, and I was just low carbing it back then. That was my jam I wanted just pounded just as much meat and then doing lots of I was doing big boy formulated whey proteins from GNC. Yep. They were delicious. And so, but that was the first 100 pounds or so was just me doing something. Now I look at it and go, boy, you had that all screwed up. But it was so important to get to that wrong place. Yeah. You have to be able to move through that experience. That is way more valuable. So that first 100 pounds was really me doing a lot of things wrong, but so necessarily wrong. So necessary to the process,
So what do you mean by that? What were you learning? Like, what lessons have you kind of taken away from that whole process of doing things wrong where you flipped it around and made some changes to ramp up your results further?
One thing is like an identity thing. That was one thing that was holding me back because I was still going to be like, there's this guy, Alan Faneca. If you're an NFL fan, you know who Alan Faneca is. Well, he ran a marathon. Right around the time I was just he ran a marathon at the same time I ran my first marathon. And in my mind, all I wanted to do was be like a big ex-football player who did stuff like run marathons, right?
Yep.
I can move for a big guy, kind of a vibe. That's what I wanted to do. And you see, if you remember Matt Burke, big football player, right? Who lost weight and that's who I wanted to be. Just a big guy still, but let's shed some weight. And that's all I was identifying with at that time was still, I want to be noticeable as an ex-football player, but I just want to be a little less belly, you know?
Right.
That was the goal. Get back down to 290. That was my playing weight. Maybe I could be a leaner 290 and be more buff, right? That was the goal back then. That's all it was. That's what was driving me. And so that identity, once I got to 290, once I got to that 300-pound mark, I mean, things just I teetered because I had lost the steam. And then I wasn't the lean 290. I was 290. And then, honestly, I was eating a lot of meat. We were doing a lot of barbecuing and stuff because I was really avoiding carbs. That had helped me a lot in losing a lot of weight. I had lost weight doing it. And that was starting to get stale on me, though. And my running wasn't improving. And so switching that identity from wanting to be an obvious ex-football player to being a runner, which is going to require me to be leaner, faster, stronger in a different way, right? Clean up the diet, and so that sent me down a different rabbit hole. And that's where Born to Run comes in.
Yes,
right?
yes.
That's where Scott Jurek comes in. And then all of a sudden, poof, all my freaking hair caught on fire. And I want to go ham. Right. I want to go do this thing. It all jives. It makes sense. It's, oh, that's why we have the gluteus maximus muscles. We're bipeds. Oh, I get it. That's why our feet evolved the way they are. Oh, I get it. And then with Scott Jurek's example and the Tarahumara Indians example, just not vegan per se, but just a plant-based, a deep, hard, voluminous base of plants that made good logical sense to me. And so it all started to come together there in a different way from an identity shift, right? And I was able to step away from some old things, some old habits that were really just laden in an old identity, you know?
I love that. And I love it when my guests verify points that I've talked about in previous episodes. So my audience is like, it makes me look smarter. Right. You know?
Exactly.
So one thing that you'll find is funny, I've talked like more than once that, you know, I tell my own story. I'm like, every guy that weighs over 300 pounds thinks if they get under 300 pounds, we'll have abs. Like that's like the thing we all think. And then it doesn't happen. We're like, where the hell are the abs at? But that was just one thing. But I feel like the whole identity shift, I talk about this all the time. And I talk about a transformation timeline where the third key phase I call new purpose, new identity. So you go through a coachability phase, you go through a balance phase where you kind of start to mix and match your new lifestyle. But then the third phase is that new purpose, new identity. Because once you're done losing weight, or once you realize that the scale isn't really the focus point that you want, what's the new purpose? What's the new identity?
It's
and
beautiful.
you are good at shifting that. Dude.
It's like a time-honored thing. It's nothing fresh and new. It's learn one, do one, teach one.
Yep.
And that's what pushes us through. That's what pushes us on to the next thing. You know, it becomes less about weight and more about 5Ks and 10Ks and marathons. And then for me, I'm just explaining mine. And then I'm like, oh, this feels good to be able to do that. And then other people go, how did you do that? And then you go, oh, this is how. And then it becomes about that. How am I helping you? How that is my new like sort of PR goals. It's right. Like, who you really have a genuine concern? You really have a genuine question, and you come into me and asking. I have like a fiduciary obligation to like the universe to, for whatever reason, things lined up for me. Yep. And however I can lend myself going forward and paying that forward, that's like the new mileage for me. I'm still going to rack my miles. I'm still doing that. I still got all those goals,
yep.
But I've grown new branches that are tough enough and strong enough and robust enough to hold new goals and other goals, simultaneous goals, right? And that's fun. That's a whole different thing. And I never imagined this spot back then. Never in a million years. I was wanting to be the Mac Burke or the Alan Faneca or the, just the big guy. I wasn't worried about where I wasn't trying to be an ultra marathoner or a vegan. Geez. Huh?
That's awesome. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about going plant powered, because I know that somebody that goes from a low carb, high meat, high protein to plant powered, like what did that transition look like? Did you go cold turkey, so to speak? Or did you just, did you phase it? Like, I'm very interested in the transition.
Accidentally phased it. Yeah. Okay. Kind of accidentally phased it.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, you're good.
Lost you. Hey, you there?
Yep.
I'm good?
Yep.
All right. Yep. I kind of accidentally phased in, right? Because I had changed so many ways, so many things along the way. I had gone from, just generally eating less to then after just eating less, moving to eating in a more specific way, like I did paleo.
Yep.
So it was like this transition was happening. So that got me more healthy, right? But then after that, we read about eating clean. So then the meat changed. I wanted to eat only certain, like grass-fed, free range. And those are harder to come by in Thibodeau, right? And so just by default, the consumption went way down during that phase. And then after that, during that phase, that's when I picked up Born to Run. And then things started to really change, because then I started to flirt with, because once I saw plant-based, once I read about Scott Jurek, I read Rich Roll's book, watched Forks Over Knives, 1,000% in. Now that seems like overnight, but it's not really, because I had been twisting in the wind, trying and clawing and grabbing at things for 100 pounds already.
Yeah. So obviously I love Rich Roll. That's something, his podcast, his book, Born to Run, is amazing. I feel like whether you're interested in being vegan or not, like, it's a great book to read. Of course. So how did you just start that plan? Like, what was the initial step? Did you just start mapping out your meal plan and then, like, I'm only eating, I'm cutting out all the animal proteins? Did you go vegetarian and then vegan, or was it straight?
Yeah,
straight
that's
to
what
vegan?
It was at first. Was like, okay, it was easier for me to understand, because this was actually probably, I think this was before I read Rich's book. The very, very first step after Born to Run, and I think Scott Jurek's book, was I would still do like cheese pizzas, and I would do feta in my kale salads. That's what I would do. And that was what I broke it down to. But that phase lasted maybe a week and a half. And then eventually I watched Forks Over Knives, and I saw the dairy, all of the dairy data. And I was like, okay, boom, that's done.
Yeah.
And then it was just, then inside of that, then it became less, I became more and more aware about the necessity, or not the necessity. It is a necessity, but I hate that word. It's more like the usefulness of a whole food plant-based diet, right? Less of the burgers, less of the things less of all of the nut butters. So it's a constant growth and transition from one phase to the next phase. And all it is just about that orientation with better. I always want to take a next step, because there's no there. You don't get to a there. The same dynamic, the same phenomenon would happen that happened to me at 300 pounds. If I think of things as a there, you're going to kick your heels up. You're going to float back. And it's not that. We want to lean in. We want to lean forward. We want to kick ass,
Yeah. I talk a lot about, the concept of there. It's a double-edged sword, because we get there and we can relax and fade back, or we never feel the ability to get there, and we feel that pressure, and that screws us up too. So I love what you just said there. So So once you turned plant powered, you're full on vegan, and you start to do the marathon, the distance events. Let's talk about that a little bit. Kind of the second half of your 200-pound transformation, and
right.
I think it's so cool because you switched your focus to performance and fuel and all these cool physical goals.
That made it easier.
Yeah,
it totally made it easier because as a fat guy, goodness gracious, it felt cool to look at different numbers, speed numbers, running numbers, mile splits, than the scale and waist size and all of those other things. It just felt really cool to do that. And then at the same time, I know now, I didn't realize then, things are happening in my body. My body's producing nitric oxide at a different level now. My arteries are opening more and more supple. I'm getting a more nutrient dense blood that's going to all of these taxed tissues, right? And I mean, it was just like a real steep growth curve in that year in 2013. And I did my first half marathon in that would have been that November, I think. Yeah, November. And that's the first time I did like a before and after picture of myself.
Yeah.
Because the weight had people thought I was sick.
Yeah.
The rest of what was on me just blew off. And then the running just took off.
Yeah.
And I wanted to and I'm learning about what things are. I remember listening to the No Meat Athlete on the Rich Roll podcast. And I remember him talking about how hard Boston training was. He failed so many years in a row. I've only tried 1 year, right? So I know I have that example in my mind. Oh, it took them a few tries. And then I remember him talking about a 50K. And like, hey, if we could just do a 50K, we could slow way down and do a 50K. And he's like, man, if you can run these 50Ks at like a 9:30 or a 10-minute pace or an 8:30 pace, goodness, you're going to win the damn thing.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me. I was like, oh, I could that sounded more reachable to me, being able to run a 9:30 pace all day long versus a 7:05 pace for 26 miles straight, So I want to do both though, right? So failing through all of that and going through the growing pains of really setting this new identity, not just faking the funk and saying I am, be the damn thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
From seed to sprout to tree to limbs to leaves, man.
Oh yeah. I feel you. That's the whole identity thing. So here's a question that one of my clients shot my direction the other day. I want to get how you would respond to this, because I feel like you'd have a really good response. He's lost over 90 pounds, and he's one of those numbers driven, likes to see the scale go down. But for the last couple of years, we've just been doing strength training, and he's put on a little bit of weight, but it's muscle weight. Looks good. He looks better this way. But he emails me and he's like, I just feel a little bit lost because my thing was the scale number, and like, what should I weigh? So he's really concerned. Like, he wants me to tell him what he should weigh. And I was kind of like, that's not that's not the answer that we're looking for right now. It's more about performance and using the machine that you've built, and let's go see what we can do with it. So how would you reply to that situation?
Let that just be an outcome of your lifestyle. What are we doing? What are we doing day to day?
Yeah.
What are we doing? Let our look, man, sufficiency dictates results, right? I mean, results dictate sufficiency, right? So what are we looking at? How is it? What is my bench press? Even though that's not a perfect human standard, but that might be yours. In my opinion, I feel like we're bipeds.
Yeah.
I feel like to flex that authentic humanity, go outside and exercise your lower extremities like a wild beast. And let's see what the body does in reaction to that. Let's see where we level out. Let's see where we settle out. I bet it's somewhere really healthy. I bet it's somewhere really fit. And especially if we mixing that in with a love for being strong and pull-ups and push-ups and dips. like I learned from my boy Don Thompson on Instagram,
Yeah.
on his Rich Roll podcast, right? Pull-ups, push-ups, dips. I was like, that's simple and hard as hell. I'm in, right?
Yeah.
So that body strength, yoga, things, think of, breathe, think, but using that bipedal locomotion to really exercise the human body in the way it's evolved, what it's looking for. It's looking for that. We give it all kinds of stuff. We give it windsurfing. We give it bodybuilding. We give it CrossFit. We give it jump rope. We give it everything, because nobody wants to do the thing, that running or that walking or the long ass hikes. And I think a lot of the answers we look for are in that. Yeah. And we don't want to look at it because it's uncomfortable. Yeah. But I think more of us need to buy in, surrender, and be a human. Yeah. By being a biped.
Yeah. So that brings up another point about being uncomfortable. As a man, as men, we deal with something called the male ego, right? And right. I struggle with some of my clients. I've helped quite a few guys lose over 100 pounds, and I have a hard time helping them maintain that, because we have that natural male ego of, well, I should now be able to do this on my own. And so I want to use you as an example. So what does your support system look like? How are you accountable to your processes? Who's coaching you? Who's helping you? Who's supporting you to keep you locked in and focused?
In the beginning, it's just the very first run group I ever joined. And I haven't run with them in probably a year and a half. Yeah. I still love them to death. I still follow them. When I can, I'm going to, get over there and get back to them. But falling into that pack, finding your first pack, because then you realize this is a communal thing. This isn't about Josh getting unfat. This is about Josh being useful to a community, being part of a community.
I love it.
And that's what it's about.
So, do you ever get worried about gaining it back? Does that ever run through your mind?
Not even close.
So why is that? Why are you not going to ever gain it back?
It's like gravity now. I'm just like, I'm letting it be. Like, I'm not forcing anything. I'm not making this is not a plate spinning trick. This is me surrendering to gravity, is all it is. It's surrendering to some very authentic truths among all humans. We need plants, we need bipedalism, and we need a good, sound self-love, so we can really make connections in a community that helps us with our mindset, that helps us with our positivity and the way we think about ourselves in relationship to others.
Yeah. So what does that routine look like for you to cover all those bases? So let's just start with nutrition. Like, what's a daily, an average day in your nutrition look like?
First thing, I run without actually eating a meal. I'll do that, but I'm up early. I'm an early bird, man. I love it.
Yeah.
And so it reminds me of hunting and fishing and doing all of those things I did in my youth. I like getting up and getting to work, so to speak. Yeah. And so I'll get up and do that usually. Whatever the run might be, I get home. Maybe it's a bowl of muesli with some almond milk. But maybe it's the soup we have left over from supper last night. It might be a kale soup, or we have these great dehydrated lentil soup mixtures that we got in Canada at a veg fest. Amazing, super simple stuff like that. Just throw red lentils, black beans, and I have something that's in the Instapot almost daily. So I eat a lot of savory breakfasts. So it'll be after my run. I'll come home, lots of water, and like yesterday morning, it was black beans with some nutritional yeast, some sriracha, a whole bunch of turmeric and black pepper. Mixed it up, put it in a microwave, got it good and hot, and I ate it. That was my breakfast.
Nice.
I don't think of things in terms of I need it to be donut and scrambled eggs and bacon.
Right.
That's part of the issue, is we have a dysfunctional relationship with our ideas of food, like itself. Oh yeah. So we got to peel off those impressions that we've, spent so long putting on.
Yeah. And people think that everything has to be like super sweet or as a reward. And, we go out to eat, it has to be a reward. And
Your
it's
reward,
ridiculous.
Your reward is seeing somebody at the end. Is seeing someone at the end of a 5K or the last third of any race that you can see them getting bigger and bigger because you're pulling them in and you're getting closer and closer and pulling through and grinding and pushing and competing at a fun level where everybody's about to vomit and everybody's working really hard and we letting all the cards out on the table. Man, that's the biggest reward you can imagine. That can't, like, chicken nuggets can't hold a candle to that.
Right.
Right.
So what else? Like, what's the rest of the day look like?
So the rest of the day is going to be that I'm getting my workout done, I get my meal done, and then I head out to work. And so the first part of that community, I run with these guys at 4:30, 4 o'clock. 4:15, whatever time we need to, so we can also get to work on time and take care of our business, take care of what we need to do. So that's that community that I'm accountable from the jump. Soon as my feet hit the floor, I'm meeting at least JT on my run, and probably Jude, and probably some other folks, along the way.
Right.
And so I know that community's there. And I'm going to be part of it. It's not just about Josh. It's about us.
Right.
And that feels good. It feels good to be part of a pack, part of a pride.
Yeah.
Right. So that's where that comes in. And then later, as the day moves through the day, I'm putting out fires. I'm dealing with stuff. I have a lot of rental property. I have a lot of sewer assets where we're in charge of pumps and aerators and all sorts of different mechanical things. And so that's part of my day. And so I'm driving a lot. I'm up and down the bayou a lot. I'm going all over the place, running errands. So it consists, for me to stay on point with my food, I'm doing a lot of grocery store visits. I'm popping in, I'm grabbing apples. I'm grabbing a handful of walnuts from the bulk thing. Maybe I'm getting a salad at the salad bar, but putting a lot of broccoli and cauliflower and things like that I like to finger food that I can just throw on the side of the truck on the passenger side and eat.
Right.
While I'm doing my thing. Like, so figuring how to fit your environment into this lifestyle that you have to make happen. It's not going to accidentally happen. So there's an iterative process to this. There's some growing pains where you got to figure out where your favorite things are, at what stores, at what merchants, at what outlets have what you now need with your new chosen lifestyle.
Yeah.
And that's a process, but you move through it, things get easier, and it starts to feel like gravity that you can just surrender to as you move forward. Right. And then for me, I spend a lot of time coaching. I do spend a lot of time coaching and working with folks on our platform at wellstarthealth.com. And I'm jacked about that because it's providing that urge that I'm wanting. That's the next marathons for me. It's like the next ultra marathon for me. I still want to do ultras. This is in addition to, not as a replacement, right? This is in addition to, and so that is also a new layer in my life. That's part of my day. And so my days are chock full every single day. And back in the day, I let that amount of stress and that amount of different things to take care of in a given day drive me down this self-pity pathway where I would find myself at Burger King getting a triple Whopper with cheese and a milkshake and a king-size fries, on the reg.
Yeah.
Right? And now I get dopamine in a different way, and this is a lot more of a long, deep burn, like a long burn sort of happiness. It's not just only, oh no, while I'm eating a Whopper, happy way up here. As soon as I'm done, life still sucks.
Yeah.
Let me do another Whopper and see. Yep, works.
Yeah.
Oh shit, life still sucks. And so this is different. It evens the volatility out when you feel pride in yourself, in your physical capacity. You feel happy about how you've affected your mental capacity. You feel happy about how you're being of service to other human beings. And then it's just a matter of like the planet spinning around. You don't have to make it happen. You just be.
So I don't know if our friend Brian mentioned this to you or not. I think he did. But, since reading Rich Roll's book, I'm very interested. I'm always interested in learning more about different fitness styles, different nutritional styles. I'm not one of those guys that's like, you should only do keto and that's the only way, or you should only do vegan and that's the only way. Like I like the right tool for the right job mindset. Like
right.
Being a vegan just fits. That is the square hole, the square peg, and you just crushed it, right? But yep. I feel like the vegetarian and vegan realm is something that's a weak point for me. So I'm going to dive in and I'm going to do, a 2 to maybe 3 month commitment to doing it. So what would your tips be for me if I'm going to set like a 28-day, I'm going to go vegan for 28 days. What would be like my starter kit? All right.
Just go. It's real simple. Just go to pcrm.org and look at their starter kit. They have a way to transition you on, and their advice is very sound. And it's really for diabetes specific. A lot of it is, but the basic tenets of what you will learn there. I mean, have you watched Forks Over Knives?
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen Forks Over? Right. So people like Dr. Neil Barnard at PCRM is really sort of where the rubber meets the road in getting implementation for people in the right way. I think that is huge. If you haven't, watch the movie Plant Pure Nation. I don't know if you've ever seen Plant Pure Nation or heard of it, but check that out. It will explain a lot about why things are the way they are. It'll make it extremely evident why you haven't heard this information before. And just really get curious and go down the rabbit holes that Neil Barnard TED Talk on YouTube will send you. Go to my website at joshlajaunie.com and check out. I have like a little education tab. Check out those videos, read those books, watch those documentaries. And if you come away with a different conclusion, that's cool, man. Yeah. You do you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So with being vegan, with being vegetarian, the biggest questions that I get from other people and that I have in my mind is protein. Like, people think, we need
complete misnomer.
Yeah. So what's your strategy on protein? Like, what is your protein?
I don't have a strategy. I literally don't have a strategy on protein. You should probably read Proteinaholic.
Yeah. Yeah.
You should. I literally do not have a strategy on protein. I do not care about any macronutrients that I eat. I eat whole foods, and I trust that Mother Nature, if I'm eating foods in the form that she created them, that my macronutrient distribution in a whole food is better than anything I'm going to create in the periphery on my own. Right.
Right.
So surrendering to just like what Dr. T. Colin Campbell says, surrendering to just providing a cornucopia of nutrients for my body through a plant-based diet, that is way more appealing to me than trying to look at my nutrition as this huge equalizer board that I'm reading an owner's manual on how to get the correct setting. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so that's a lot more liberating and freeing. Like and the book Whole really helped me zoom away from all of the specificity that we get wrapped up into, because specificity is where people are able to create like proprietary blends, right? And very specific things that can be sold. And that is where we get sent, because it's the most marketable place to be. It's where people can get to you, not in a bad way. It's just the nature of the beast. It's not a bad thing. It's not a conspiracy. It's just the results, right? And so I feel like zooming out from that on purpose to see that to see that to see that painting as a whole. I'm thinking of like those. I love to look at art, but I have no idea who artists are and all. But French Impressionists, you know how if you look at those you look up really close, it's still beautiful in its own way, but you really don't understand it until you really zoom out and look at it as a whole. And you go, wow, that is freaking magnificent.
Yeah.
And that's the where I am right now in my life, is I am zooming out and just looking at humankind as a whole and going, wow, we are a very powerful species. This is a breathtaking animal, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's so cool that you have that mindset and you're performing at a high level, because so many people get into like running ultras and, these long distance, and they think that every training session, every meal, every nutrient is specifically mapped out, So I think that's awesome.
If I'm Jim Walmsley, maybe it's a different thing, right? But I'm not that. I'm just a mid-pack regular guy, right? So I understand that there's different levels, and I understand that what maybe I'm doing currently won't really get me to those levels. That's not really my focus. My real focus is more to try to get as many people that want to be on my level as possible when it comes to this running thing, when it comes to this weight loss thing, when it comes to this being a mouthpiece for a plant-based movement thing, right? That's where I am right now, and it helps float me up, and it helps keep my hair on fire, and helps keep me excited. It's fun.
Well, I think it's needed because so many people that are regular people like you and I are intimidated because they think that they have to do that.
No, you don't have to. Yeah. You get to if you want to, once you learn how to.
Yeah.
But you worry about where we are. You worry about where you are today. Recognize that capacity. Embrace it. Give it a big hug. Be thankful for it. And let's try to massage it and grow it and fertilize it into something new and better and stronger and more robust.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah. Yeah. Keeping it simple. We overcomplicate things
in
the transformation game, and we intimidate ourselves, and we never get started.
And just staying alive in nature would have normally provided that for us.
Yeah.
But we don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And so we have to shoehorn that into our very weird, for an animal, existence.
Yeah. So you're obviously, like you said the term hair on fire more than once. So you are fired up.
Every day.
You're driven. What would happen? Like, let's say something happens and running is taken away from you.
Sure, of course. It was.
So how would you transition through that? Like, what would be the mental strategy of what is going to keep you fired up? What's going to keep you ignited?
Same thing. Recognize where I am. Where am I? So what's my injury? What is happening? I have a huge bulging disc between L4 and L5 and severe spinal stenosis from an old football thing. After my race in May 2017 in Liverpool, after I've been training and ignoring bodily injury and trying to push through because the ego wants to go to England and kill a marathon.
Yeah.
Right? And so I hurt myself. I really mess up that injury. I do all sorts of compensatory things to run with that injury that made shit even worse and built even more layers on top of it, right? And so my running was taken away, like in a big way. And I was dark about it, man. I was sad. It was hard. It was very tough on me going through that. And also at the same time, I was losing my grandfather. That's another story. But running for 2017, I could feel it. I could feel it I could feel me losing my grip on it. And it was crushing me. It hurt my soul to see it, right? But it just like when I'm running or just like when I'm having a rough day, just go back to the breath. That's all I can do is just go back to the breath. And if it means all the way, you could extrapolate out any sort of doomsday scenario, but let's just go back to the breath and be where we are today. What can I do today? Today, I was able to touch my knees without crying. Or today I was able to get up or last night I was able to sleep all night. Maybe tomorrow night I can maybe get back into bed. It's going to make me get choked up. I was not able to sleep in the bed with my family, with my wife and my puppy dogs. I had to get on the bed. I had to get on the floor and put a knee up. Like, it was terrible it's been terrible for months and months and months and months, man. Yeah. Months. And it has been my running community, even though I'm not a runner. During that time, you don't feel like one. I have injured brothers right now. Mike, I'm thinking about you. And I get it. It's part of that. So we've built those connections, and it helps pull us through. So my connections that I built when I was going hard as shit are pulling me through now that I'm hindered from going too hard. And nobody's saying I told you so. They just saying I love you. And they dealing with me being rude and mean and pissed off and aggravated. It's fighting through, man. Every day is going to be something different. It's not about wishing you had a different hand. It's about, how can I, in the most pragmatic and efficient way, play the cards I have, not wish I had another set. And so that's a daily practice. And every day you might find yourself in a different place. It might be on the top of the mountain, literally finishing a race, or feeling powerful and excited. Or it might be in the bottom of a gully where you realize your grandfather's dying and you're changing his diaper with your mom because he shit in the bed last night. And you know it's coming, but you don't know which day. Right?
Yeah.
And having community and having drive and having your hair on fire and being passionate about something helps you get a deep keel in this very, very turbulent life we live,
Yeah. Man, that's powerful stuff, man. I always say that people just get caught up in all the emotional swings, and it seems like you just are able to show up with that purpose, that passion, that positive energy, and that's what's carrying you through. Through the good times and the bad. That's the mojo that's carrying you through. That's
it. It's not a hack. It's a different way to live.
Yep. That's life. The society we live in is obsessed with that hack, that shortcut. And I feel like you and I are kind of kindred spirits in the, put your hand in the dirt and let's go to work and show up every day.
3 yards in a cloud of dust.
That's right. Now, Josh, man, you've just it's been a pleasure talking with you, man. And I want to make sure that people can connect with you. So you've mentioned a couple websites, but let's re-mention those. And I want to make sure that people know how to follow your story. And I'm going to connect with you on Instagram too, and make sure that my folks on Instagram can connect with you there as well. But what's the best way to follow your stuff?
Just my name is real. I'm very lucky. I have a very unique last name. So just my name, Josh, Josh, LaJaunie, LaJaunie.com. And you can find me on all of my social media, YouTube, Instagram. I just have fun with social media. I try to keep it light. I'm not really trying to sell people stuff. That's not what I'm about. I am part of a startup, a Silicon Valley tech startup called WealthStartHealth.com. I'm really proud of my involvement in that. I'm working with my buddy Howard Jacobson and my friend Olivia out in California. And we should be a native app by the end of the year, where it's just going to be a place for people who already have their hair on fire to connect with people who are trying to get their hair caught on fire. And we're just going to help facilitate that. And in the meantime, me and Howard and my friend Kevin happen to be the only 3 people with hair on fire associated with the app. But we're working on that as well. We're building our contingent of burning hair people.
Nice. I can't wait to set my hair on fire. I have to set my hair on fire before I go bald, Josh. That's the important thing. Now, so I like to set my audience. I like to send them out with, obviously you've inspired them, but now I want to put them into action. All right. I love ending with some sort of an actionable step, something they can do in the next 24 hours. So let's say there's somebody out there listening that is a little bit, they're fired up. Their hair is beginning to tingle, like it's starting to ignite, but they're nervous. They're scared. They see that mountain. Maybe they have 200 pounds that they need to be rid of, and they're just scared of the process. What would you tell somebody like that?
Do today. Do today. Pick a thing. Who cares if it's wrong? Do it today. Don't wait till tomorrow. Pick a thing, decide, and get a result. So my grandfather always told me if I was standing around on a job site with my hands in my pocket, no, sir, you better do something, even if it's wrong. Better grab a shovel and start digging so I can say, hey, not there, dig over there, right? But it all starts with a real simple, short word, do.
Do it. Nice.
Do.
Nice. Well, Josh, I appreciate you, brother. The energy that you bring is awesome. I know my audience is going to love it. And
Sweet,
I'm psyched to help support you in your new efforts with the app and everything. So we're going to be locked in tight, man.
All right, buddy.
All right, everybody. So you've heard Josh. You've heard all the inspirational words. And now, like he says, it's time to do. It's time for action. And that, my friends, is how we get out there. That's how we own it. Every meal, every workout, every day. I'll see you in the next episode. Now, what did I tell you? Is your hair on fire like Josh talked about? Man, Josh is so awesome. I want you guys to check out his stuff. All of his contact info is in the show notes, and it'll be on the blog post as well. So be sure to check that out. Now, if you guys are hankering for a little extra transformation education, I've got something new launching here in a couple of weeks called Million Pound Mission University. Now, this is where some people are asking, what's the difference between Million Pound Mission University and the Transformation Reboot program? So Million Pound Mission University is about education. It's about adding tools to the toolbox. The Transformation Reboot program is more about application. It's about implementation of actually getting in and doing the work. So that's the difference. But this course is going to be amazing. We are launching with 18 of my favorite people from the worlds of keto, paleo, Weight Watchers, vegan, sugar addiction, motivation, mindset, mental obesity awareness, things that you guys will want to learn more about. Some of my favorite guests that I've interviewed, some of your favorite guests that I've interviewed, and we are going to teach you and dive deep on specific topics. And then you get a chance to meet with these people in small group chat sessions, and you're going to absolutely love it. So check out Million Pound Mission University at millionpoundmission.com, and we'll see you inside the course.